Hey everybody, it's Laurie-Ann. It is the Monday Facebook Live show. So while people are just jumping on, I'm just going to share this on my various other pages and hope everybody is enjoying it. Can't believe like we are rapidly approaching the middle of December. And let's see. Hey everybody, it's Laurie. Okay, the volume works. And just let me know where you are watching from, because today we are going to be talking about your bucket list. Let's see. I just want to cancel out some of those that are just showing up. Okay, now that that's all taken care of, where is everybody watching from? It's high noon here on the East Coast, and we're going to be talking about your bucket list. I am personally in planning mode with a lot of my clients, and this is something that I work with them personally and individually. It's about your bucket list. You know, who do you want to speak for? You know, so this is kind of like your speaking bucket list with a couple of extra things in it as well. So who do you want to speak for? You know, what are some of the conferences or places that you want to be specifically involved in? Let me know if you've done this, if you are watching the replay or you're watching this live today. You know, do you have a list of places that you want to speak for? You know, because as a speaker, it's always great not to just keep taking like, hey, let me just kind of reach out and say yes to events that come my way. But what about if I actually target some places? And these specific places are on my list, especially as we are approaching either a new year, a new quarter for you. Who is on your list? And as most of you know, I'm Laurie-Ann. I am best known as a speaker in the leadership and personal development arena. I am now stepping off the stage and helping, from that point of view, I am helping entrepreneurs actually leverage speaking opportunities to grow their business and have a greater impact. Because I believe that everybody's got a story. You've also got a voice, and it's time to share that story and voice with others. So let's kind of talk about your bucket list. What are some of the places that you want to speak for? Where does and you've heard me say this a number of times, but where does your ideal client hang out? What conferences do they attend? What meetings do they attend? What associations do they belong to? And here's the extra one. What publications do they read? It's okay if you don't know some of this information about your ideal client. That is what surveys and having conversations with them is all about. So there is actually a handout that goes with this particular talk. And if you want the handout, my bucket list handout, all you have to do is type down below, handout, and I will be sure that you get that. But who's on your list? Have you, maybe it's something that you've never even thought about. So let me tell you a little bit of a story. One of the companies that was on my list was actually a company that my sister worked for. And they treated her so well that they were on my list. I had spoken for a small division of their company. So I remember speaking for one of the offices down in Rhode Island. But have always been on my list. And finally the opportunity came up that I got to speak for them. And I made sure that I told them that when I was up on the stage, that they had been on my bucket list for a long time. So it was such a pleasure to actually be up there and to be able to help and inspire, this group of people. This particular company has a number of conferences, and I gotta be honest, there are still some of their other conferences that is still on my bucket list that I would like to speak for. So think about, where does your ideal client hang out? Maybe it's time to reevaluate, because sometimes, we've got these bucket lists and things get a little bit old and it's been a long time since we've looked at it. So where does your ideal client hang out? Let's reevaluate that list. So whether you are creating or reevaluating your list either yearly or quarterly or even monthly that you're trying to target, let's figure out, where does my ideal client hang out? So what meetings, what associations do they belong to? And when I talk about speaking, that I'm not talking about just stage speaking. I'm also talking about virtual events. So what virtual events does your ideal client hang out? But also don't always think about hey, my ideal client, what's a complementary association, complementary other speakers or events that actually your topic, your ideal clients could also sort of infiltrate in between there also. So I want you not to think so narrow, but actually think a little bit wider. Let's look at all these different possibilities just to find these opportunities. What else? Idea. Another thing that can be on this list is maybe you've got some ideal clients and some specific clients that you want to work for, whether that's a company that you want to do some work for, or maybe there's a particular person that you've been having conversations with them and you've already had one sales call with them, and maybe you just I really like this person. I've got clients that are just like that, and maybe there's I put them on my bucket list. Why have a bucket list? A bucket list is actually, it's so similar to writing down your goals. And one of the things that I used to say when I was doing workshops and speaking, and the topic of goals would come out, I would tell people that, somebody didn't wake up one day and say, I think I'll annoy everybody and tell them that they have to write their goals down. No, it doesn't actually work that way. As you may remember, I am a little bit of a neuroscience geek. Some of those books that are back there, they're on neurology and neuroscience, emotional intelligence, and I'm so fascinated when it comes to the brain. How many of you are fascinated with how our brains work? Because as much as technology changes, our brains are still the same. But hopefully we keep them optimal, so that means also staying healthy, breathing good air, getting good exercise, and I'm getting a little off track here. So the reason why I tell my clients to write their goals down, as a matter of fact, some of the paperwork that I send them, I want them to physically write. That's because typing on a computer is very left brain, but actually the physical act of writing is actually very right brain. So by physically writing down some of your goals and those things that are on your bucket list, you are activating, there's a teeny tiny section of the brain, deep inside called the RAS, the reticular activating system. And as soon as you physically write something down, here's what I want, it goes to work. So let me give you a great example in case you've absolutely have never written down some of your goals. Maybe you've written down a grocery list or a to-do list and you left that list at home. How many times have you done that? I know that I have done this a number of times, but because you physically wrote it down, there's a great probability that you're going to do everything that's on that list. And those times that I have forgotten my list and I get home and I pick up the piece of paper that was sitting on the counter, I look at it and it's did that, or got all of these items. It's amazing. I have also, in the past, written down some goals, on January 1st, like most of us, and kind of forgot about it. Just to be totally honest, I completely forgot about it. But you know what? Because I wrote it down, later on in that year, I would go back to that journal entry, wherever I had written it down, and I looked at it and I'm always amazed at how many of those things I actually did accomplish. all just by physically writing it down. So if you're so opposed to doing some goal setting and physically, just at the very least write some of your things down, like this bucket list. If you want this handout that goes with this, the bucket list handout, it will it prompts you for 5 associations that you want to work for, 5 companies that you want to work for. And here's one that might surprise you. 5 publications that you want to get published in. You're probably wondering, okay, Laurie-Ann, we were talking about speaking. So what does writing and getting published in a publication or a magazine or some sort of an e-magazine have anything to do with the speaking? This is a roundabout way to get into associations. So let's just say there's an association that's on your list and you're not quite sure, or they have a very long planning process. So it's going to be like another year until they can even consider you. One of the things that you should be asking is like, hey, do you have a publication that you might need contributors for? I'm constantly writing, and I've got a number of articles that I'd be happy to customize for your audience or offer you. And they would be so thrilled, because think of the person that actually has to put this together, either monthly or quarterly. And this is a great way for the people in that association, whether that is a local association or even a national association, they start to get to know you. And let's just say you don't get into the national publication, but you do get into the local one, where the local people talk and the local people share information and share articles with others. So it's a great way for you to get into other local or state associations, state organizations, and it's a nice little stepping stone to finally get into the national one, especially if you're pumping out really good information. So that's another way for you to get into an association, to get invited to speak through what I'm calling the back door. And by doing that, people get to know you, and that's how they're going to start reaching out to you. Say, hey, I've been reading your information in our magazine, our publication for the past month. And I love what you keep saying. Is there a possibility that we can ask you to speak at one of our state meetings? It could be a conference, our national conference. It's just a great way. So let's make sure that we get you. Start thinking about some of those publications, and you might not even know some of the name of those publications. I'm just going to take a little water break here. Love it if you would share this with some other people and that you feel that this is going to be a great resource for, that they would get a lot of value out of this. Please feel free to share and let me know, where are you guys watching from? I see Jen's here, and I know that Jen is from the West Coast. And I know it's not too early for her. And Robin, I just want to say hi to you as well. Thank you for joining. So let's see. And anybody who's watching the replay, just type in the replay and let me know where you are watching from. And again, there is a handout that goes with this. So if you want a copy of that handout, all you got to do is type handout, and I will be sure to send that to you versus Messenger. So you don't have to opt into anything for this particular handout. So again, we've been going over your bucket list. Who do you want to speak for? And really try thinking about where does my ideal client hang out? Think about those associations first, those meetings, those groups, those conferences. There are so many conferences that are happening so frequently every month, and there are definitely some conference seasons, during the end of summer, and also this time of the year, the end of the year, is when there's a little bit of a lull in conferences, because it's the holidays or it's the summertime, here in the Northern Hemisphere. But don't ever let that stop you from reaching out. All I ever hear from my clients and also from other speakers is, because this is known as a little bit of a lull in the speaker and conference industry, it's a great time to finish the year strong And because a lot of people they just kind of get a little bit lazy and they just relax during this time of the year. Well, guess what? Conferences are still being booked. People are still booking and looking into like hiring for next year, both speakers and hiring coaches, everything. Because guess what? You get to use this year's budget money to pay for something for next year. So we're talking about a little bit of a tax advantage here as well. And I'm sure some of my people who actually talk about taxes can actually verify that. Maybe they would actually throw in a little bit of a tip about that here in this. So let's see. I just wanted to, went over the reticular activating system. That's why I want you to write stuff down. So if you want a copy of that handout, feel free just to type in handout. And I also want to let you know about an up and coming event. And while I share about this event, please feel free to pop in any questions that you have in regards to speaking, and I'd be happy to answer that, or if it's in regards to what I just went over today. But I am going to be co-hosting an event with our very own Kristin Hardwick. And we are going to be doing a live event together, and it's going to be in the early part of 2019. It is definitely going to be about branding and positioning yourself as an expert. So if you'd like the information on that event, all you have to type in is waitlist. Just type in waitlist, and I will be sure that you will be one of the first people to find out when we go live with this. So which means you're going to be the first emails, and you'll also get the best pricing on this. And there will be some great opportunities to work with us individually, but also together. We're going to be talking more about that, and I'll let you in on more of it as plans as everything comes together. But definitely sign up for the wait list. So that's all for today. I want you to start thinking about either next year or next quarter, depending on when you're watching this and how you plan for your business. Where do you want to speak? What companies do you want to speak for? Like who's on that bucket list? Are there any clients, both companies and or individual private clients, that you would love to work with them? Let's make those lists. And publications. Well, publications are on your list. And I want you to fill this out and then put it on your board. Put it on a bulletin board, put it someplace where you're going to see it frequently, because that'll be that constant reminder. Not only is that reticular activating system going to be working to get you to be able to check those off, but why not? It's also a great opportunity for you to speak and get your voice heard, tell your story, and let more people know about what you do. Because remember, speaking is an amazing form of marketing. And as somebody who grew her business from the very beginning just by using speaking, and when I think about it, I wasn't a very good speaker back then at all. But it didn't matter, because I was just there to share my message and to be of service to this group of people. I didn't worry about what my experience was. I just wanted to focus on the audience. And that's exactly what I want you to do. So, you guys, everybody have a fabulous week. I will talk to you soon. If you've got any questions, if you're watching the replay, just type them in and I will be sure to answer them. Talk to you guys all soon. Speak and stand out.